it's me again. Obviously, it's me. It's my channel. You know, reasons. This is just me playing the game, really. So, yeah. Just watch. It'll take a while. This is just a stupidity video. I'm just gonna draw whilst my horses collect the tree, or yeah, tree. I don't have a brown, so I guess I'm gonna have to use yellow. I don't even have an orange brown. Okay, that's enough. I'm gonna watch a video, so you might hear some extra.
I really hate this place so much. Osyria hesitated. She couldn't say she hated it. She just couldn't accept sudden kindness. Then there was suddenly a knock at the door. It was Fidelius, still wearing pajamas. Osyria immediately had a bad feeling. Fidelius casually brushed dust off the bed. He said he would guard Osyria here tonight. He even wrapped a blanket around Osyria. Osyria wanted to say something but held back. In the end, she chose to accept his kindness. For some reason, having Fidelius by her made her feel incredibly warm. But did she really deserve to enjoy all this? Soon, it was deep night, and when both were asleep, Aqua appeared again, waking Osyria. The Empire's delegation was already on their way back. Any later would be too late. Hearing this, Osyria instantly woke up. She was about to leave through the window when she suddenly thought of Fidelius sleeping beside her. Leaving without disturbing him might be difficult. Seeing this, Aqua waved his small hand, creating a water barrier around Fidelius to block outside sounds. Soon they were in the center of a lake. With the water spirit, Osyria could speak freely underwater, and could teleport anywhere through water sources. Then, with Aqua's help, a small teleportation portal to the Empire appeared at the lake bottom, as a dazzling light flashed. The next moment they appeared in a village within the Empire. This barren land and dry air felt incredibly familiar to Osyria. But just as they were about to continue forward, Osyria discovered a blue ring of light around her wrist. Though also water magic, this magical power felt very strange. It must be a mark left by that king. It seemed she had to act quickly. She couldn't stay here too long. However, they hadn't gone far when they discovered corpses everywhere on the ground. Soon Osyria came to a small town near the Empire, finding the surrounding air extremely dry. Even the usual fruits were shriveled without moisture. Everyone looked lifeless, but this was the punishment they deserved. Who told them to lock the only divine maiden who could save the Empire in a dungeon, and torture the divine maiden for 20 years. Compared to Osyria's tragic experiences, these people's current situation was nothing. Then Osyria prepared to head to the nearby river. But as soon as she reached her destination, she found a group of soldiers dealing with corpses. Such a cruel scene made Osyria gasp in shock. These soldiers were actually killing villagers to monopolize water sources. But what shocked her even more was yet to come. The soldiers began pouring gasoline on the corpses, then lit them on fire. As the flames spread, the soldiers actually showed crazy smiles. Osyria trembled all over. How was this different from hell? She couldn't help but recall the scene of her mother being scorned and executed. Fortunately, Aqua's call brought her back to her senses, and she decided to act, killing all these soldiers. Just as Osyria was about to use her magic power, the bracelet on her wrist began to buzz. Suddenly, a burning sensation spread from her arm throughout her entire body. Aqua hurriedly reminded Osyria that the time the king had given them was up, and this was a warning for them to return quickly. But Osyria was unwilling to give up. She was determined to teach these soldiers a lesson. Unexpectedly, the next second, a blue beam of light descended from the sky, transporting both of them back to the Water Kingdom. At this moment, Osyria had made up her mind that she must figure out the king's purpose for restraining her. But when Osyria carefully returned to her room, she was noticed by Fidelius. Osiria thought her little secret had been discovered. However, Fidelius only pulled the blanket for her. It's still early, Your Highness. Please sleep a bit more. Seeing this, Osiria finally breathed a sigh of relief. But as soon as she closed her eyes, she felt herself in complete darkness. She hurriedly began calling for Aqua, only to find that the divine seal in her hand had vanished. Looking up, she saw a woman sitting in the distance who resembled her. This was Osiria's mother. Osiria could vaguely hear her mother telling stories to her in the womb. Osiria hurriedly ran to her mother's side and knelt down. She screamed desperately, begging her mother to abandon this child and not foolishly sacrifice her life for the baby. But the next second, her mother's figure turned to smoke and disappeared, and Osiria was surrounded by raging flames. Then countless hands reached out from the fire, constantly demanding water from Osiria. This scene truly terrified Osiria, she murmured no under her breath. Just as Osiria's emotions were about to collapse, she suddenly woke from the nightmare, and what met her eyes was Fidelius. She could no longer suppress the emotions in her heart and threw herself into Fidelius's arms. Fidelius slowly grasped Osiria's hand. He was about to offer comfort, when he discovered wounds on Osiria's palm, clearly scratches from tree branches. Osiria began to follow, not knowing how to explain. Unexpectedly, Fidelius didn't question her. He just silently treated Osiria's wounds. After finishing this, he left. Fidelius's heart was extremely sad, but not because Osiria had left the palace without permission. Because when he was treating Osiria's wounds, he discovered that Osiria hadn't made a sound. Even though the wounds on her hands were so deep, Osiria seemed to have grown accustomed to it. Meanwhile, in the palace, the king lay on his bed looking haggard. Seeing Fidelius's arrival, the king's face immediately darkened. I entrusted a fierce beast to my most trusted keeper, but he actually let the beast escape from its cage last night. Fidelius looked confused. He didn't understand at all. The king smiled slightly. Never mind, hurry and bring her highness to see me. When the topic turned to the princess, Fidelius immediately became alert. He wanted to make an excuse to refuse. Unexpectedly, the king's face immediately darkened. You wouldn't be thinking of backing out, would you? To be safe, Fidelius chose to accompany Osiria to the palace. Unexpectedly, as soon as they saw the king, he ordered Fidelius to withdraw, saying he had something to discuss with Osiria alone. Fidelius naturally disagreed. He was about to speak, but found that the king's face had already darkened. I told you to go out. Didn't you hear me clearly? Osiria was immediately startled. There seemed to be an irresistible power in the king's voice. After Fidelius left, the king's expression gradually returned to calm. Your Highness, do you plan to remain silent forever? You once said you stayed in this country for revenge, didn't you? Osiria was stunned. Why would the king know these things? Could he, like Aqua, understand everything through water? Before Osiria could recover, the king spoke again. You saw it last night too. Your decision will get many people killed. Human death is heavier than you imagine. Can you really bear the consequences of what you've caused? Hearing this, Osiria clenched her fists. Was he trying to persuade her to give up revenge? She had been imprisoned for 20 years, tortured by maids in various ways every day. Now that she finally had the power for revenge, someone wanted to stop her.
By the way,
In
I'm
this
eating
world of survival of the
Pringles.
fittest, isn't it whoever has strength who calls the shots? So you're trying to persuade me to give up revenge because you sympathize with those villagers? Osiria shouted at the king. Then, when I was imprisoned for so long, why didn't anyone come to sympathize with me? Hearing this, the king's eyes instantly turned cold. It seems that Elf has completely ruined you. With that, he walked in front of Osiria. He suddenly grabbed Osiria's hand, forcibly summoning the water elf Aqua. He suddenly grabbed Aqua in his hand. According to your understanding, the weak should be controlled by the strong. Then if I kill him now, it should be quite normal, since you're really weak right now. Seeing this, Osiria panicked and hurriedly tried to stop him. But she was no match for the king at all. Seeing Aqua about to suffocate, Osiria began screaming desperately, begging the king to spare Aqua's life. You must know that Aqua had been Osiria's companion since childhood. To Osiria, Aqua was never just a spirit, but her only family. The next moment, Osiria's emotions began to collapse. The magic power in her body surged out uncontrollably. The originally sacred water divine power actually took on a dark flavor. This scene was clearly beyond the king's expectations. He seemed to have gone too far. He couldn't let Osiria continue like this. He slowly raised his right hand and gave Osiria a flick on the forehead, awakening Osiria from her hatred. Aqua hurriedly came to Osiria's side to ask if she was all right. And then the king's voice came over. Be clear-headed. I didn't harm your spirit. I just hope you don't forget the feeling you just had. You have things you cherish, and so do those innocent people. He knew Osiria couldn't understand these things yet, so he changed the subject. What do you think of my country? Osiria thought for a long while. Here the weather was pleasant. Everyone's face was full of sunshine, completely opposite to the empire. What about Fidelius? This sentence immediately struck Osiria's heart. Fidelius was the person who treated her best, and the people around Fidelius were all kind. It even made Osiria wonder if good people only attract other good people. He's very kind, isn't he, Your Highness? People can change. I arranged Fidelius by your side to let you experience the true emotions of humanity beyond hatred. No one is born kind. This takes time, and I don't think you're a bad person. You're just finding a way to survive in your own way, which is remarkable. If you understand enough but still make the same choices now, then I won't stop you anymore. But you're still young now and don't understand the consequences of your choices. I hope you can grow up quickly and fulfill your wishes. Perhaps changing your method of revenge might be quite interesting too. After meeting with the king, Osiria learned that the water elf Aqua was still in its juvenile stage when Aqua grows up. By then, everything related to water could be easily accomplished through Aqua. Afterwards, Osiria prepared to go to the military camp to find Fidelius. But the moment she arrived at the camp, her stunning beauty immediately caused a chorus of wolf
That's
whistles
enough
from the
gameplay
soldiers.
now.
She's
Bye.
so